have even more new features for iOS 27 Beta 1. We have price hikes coming very soon for Apple products, unfortunate news for the next generation AirPods, a crazy AirTag story, and so much more, all in today's episode of Apple Weekly. Okay, so we're going to start off by talking about iOS 27 because it's been out for nearly 2 weeks now and we're discovering even more new features. If you guys have not already seen my major video, my over 1 hour long video on iOS 27 Beta 1 covering more than 200 features and changes, make sure you go and watch that, but there are even more that I want to discuss here. And we will also talk about the performance, the battery life, the bugs, when to expect the next beta, and all of that later on in this video. But we're going to start by focusing on some of the new features. So we're going to start with this one right here. There's a new tap to share feature that's very interesting. So this basically allows merchants to now tap on a customer's device with their iPhone to get their contact details for membership signups, providing a shipping address or email for receipts, add or share Apple Wallet passes. You could view their cart and pay with Apple Pay as well. So that is now a new feature, and it's unfortunately not available in the EU, only in the US. There are new setup screens for HomeKit devices when you add them to the Home application in iOS 27. Also, the LED light on the AirPods, when you open up your AirPods on this little pop-up right here, they now reflect the actual LED color that you see on the AirPods. Small detail, but that has been updated with 27. And here's a cool one that I talked about originally in my 27 Beta 1 video, but I used somebody else's screenshot for it because I was not able to do it myself. But now you could see that when I was on hold, we now get AI predicted times for how long it's actually going to take before somebody picks up your call. So I was on hold here with Delta, and you can see up top with the call prediction here with the hold assist feature, it now shows 29 minutes until I'm going to be able to pick up, and there's going to be a live agent on the phone. So that's cool. That is new. The whole interface here, you can see the interface looks the same. It's just right up there in the dynamic island now. We now have a prediction for the time before pickup. Now, something else that's pretty cool here in iOS 27 is that you can now redo and undo items on your home screen more than once. So with iOS 26, you were able to shake to undo. That's not new. But if we go ahead and do undo and then we shake again, you can see that you can continue to undo. So you can undo again, or you can redo. So you can see right there, we have redo as well. So before you could only undo one time. Now you can continuously undo, and you can also redo on the home screen, which is really nice, especially when you're doing things like moving widgets around and stuff like that. Now, I think one of the most underrated features in iOS 27 is something so small, but it's such an annoying thing that used to happen to me before. And that is when you're on your lock screen and you're scrolling through your notifications, sometimes your screen would just time out. Like if you have, your lock screen goes to black when you're scrolling through your notifications. But now with iOS 27, it knows if you're scrolling through your notifications on your lock screen, it is not going to lock until you're not scrolling through your notifications anymore. So that is something that's huge here, for me at least, in iOS 27 that's changed. Now, something else I've been asking for so long has also finally been added in iOS 27, and that is the fact that when you're inside of one of your playlists, so this is my main playlist right here, if I go to one of these songs, so we'll just go to this song right here. If we go ahead and start playing that and go to the three dots right here, we finally have the ability to remove a song from the playlist from the now playing screen. Before, you could not do that. You could only remove it from your library or something like that. You were never able to remove it from the playlist from those three dots. So I'm so thankful that that's been added. And of course, you could also remove from playlist right here on the main screen as well, but I really liked having it in the now playing view. Now I have to talk about the new Siri. So hopefully you guys are off of the Siri waitlist at this point. If you go down here to Siri, you can see this is what it looks like when you do have the new Siri enabled. Make sure you do have the expressive voices preview turned on as well, by the way. But I have to tell you guys, the new Siri is simply incredible. I mean, I really did not expect it to be as good as it is. It is absolutely ridiculously good. I don't even use ChatGPT or Gemini anymore. I just use Siri, which sounds insane. And yes, partially it's because I am testing it for the channel, but also 80% of the reason is because it's actually genuinely so good. I'm able to reference things that I was not able to ever even think about doing it before. I actually wrote down a few examples that I've been using lately. I was able to ask Siri, if my utility bill has been raised over the past 6 months. So it went through my email, found everything. Let me just show you. My utility bill is looking pretty high this month. What were the last 6 months of my utility bill? How much was it? So it's going to search through my email and find that. So take a look at that. It found the past 6 months of my utility bill. That saves me so much time from having to go in there myself and do it. And this is just, constant. It happens all the time with the things I ask. Like I asked for different airline options, which is best from going from Orlando to London. I said, I've been spending too much on groceries lately, and I had to break down like what I've been spending. When were my last 3 haircuts? I was just curious how long it's been. It pulled that up again through my email and through my text messages. And then it said, or I asked, I stayed in a hotel earlier this year, but I forget the name. Help me find it. And it was able to go through my email and find that receipt from, a while back and tell me the name of that hotel. Like there's just so many amazing things. And that's just using personal context. That's not even talking about the on-screen awareness, which is also great. I just need to make a full video on this. I will eventually, but I've just been very impressed with the new Siri here in iOS 27. Just extremely impressed. So if you have as well, or if you're not impressed, let me know your thoughts down there in the comments. I'm really curious. Oh, and I have to say that if you go into the camera right here and you go into the Siri view, this is also a really great, feature in here. There's a lot of really great additions in here, like the nutrition value. You can scan food and it'll rate it, basically say how good it is on a nutritional scale. That's really cool as well. I have used that a bit. I prefer the Yuka app for more information, but the Siri in the camera is something I thought I would really hate, but I've actually grown to love it quite a bit. You'll also notice if I go into my settings that my indexing has finished. So I shared this over on X or Twitter. You can see that I said after 10 days, my indexing has finally been completed. So yes, it took me 10 days, and ironically, it happened on my main device right here, my 17 Pro, and my test device, my 17 Pro Max, on the same day. So both of them finished after 10 days. So I'm not sure if that's a coincidence or if that's like the sweet spot, but if you're still indexing somehow, please let me know in a comment down below. But thankfully that's been fixed. A lot of people also ask me if that's been affecting performance or battery life. No, after the first couple of days of indexing, it should not be impacting either one of those. And we'll talk more about the performance, the battery life, and when to expect the next beta later on. But let's talk about some other things in the middle of that. So let's talk about Craig Federighi, because he said that Siri will not be your AI girlfriend. So this was in an interview. He was asked basically if you could create an AI boyfriend or girlfriend with the new Siri, and Craig said absolutely not. Siri is meant to help, and Apple did not want to focus on engagement like other AI companies. I just found that to be pretty funny because I'm sure some of you guys out there have already tried doing that. But anyways, let's talk about the EU, because the EU is now kind of clapping back at Apple for not having Siri AI in Europe. So the European Commission fired back at Apple this week, saying that the decision to block Siri AI from the EU is Apple's and Apple's only. And if you're not aware, last week, Apple did say that the new Siri AI features are not going to be coming to the EU at all later this year. And Apple claimed that regulators refused to engage on their proposals, but the EU is saying that Apple never tried to find a complaint solution. They just asked to be completely exempt from their DMA obligations. So super unfortunate news if you are in the EU. Like, you're still going to get iOS 27, of course, but you're going to be missing the headline feature. Like, you're going to be missing Siri AI, the best part of iOS 27. And it's pretty funny to see both sides just blaming each other. Like, Apple's blaming the EU is blaming Apple. It's just like a back and forth, public battle. Now, speaking of Siri AI, just because you're in the EU doesn't mean you're not going to get some of the Siri AI features, because also, this has been a big complaint. If you look at my comments, you'll see this as well. But if you have the iPhone 17, you're not going to get some of these Siri AI features because, it has 8 gigs of RAM. So that means that you're not going to have things like the new expressive Siri voices. So the expressive Siri voices and also the better dictation. Those are two of the biggest features. Those are both going to be missing from the iPhone 17 or any device with the 8 gigabytes of RAM, because these require 12 gigabytes of RAM or more. So of course the iPhone 17 is going to get like the personal context, the on-screen awareness, all that. That stuff is like, honestly, that's the best stuff. But still, the new dictation is like miles better than the old dictation. So it is going to be kind of annoying if you just bought an iPhone 17 and you don't get access to some of these great new features with Siri AI. Oh, and something else that really caught my eye and a lot of people's eye at the WWDC conference a couple weeks back is that iCloud Plus subscribers are going to have higher daily usage limits for Siri AI. And Apple didn't really clarify how much more usage usage you're going to be getting, but this is, specifically for the cloud models. Like when you use private cloud compute for some of these, actions that you're performing, just know that if you are an iCloud Plus subscriber, you will be getting more usage credits basically for these on-device models and these cloud models specifically. And Apple is referencing the image generation as like the main thing you'd be using a lot of these tokens for. So if you're doing a lot of image creation and like Image Playground or Genmoji, that's going to be a case where you might eventually hit the limit. Okay, so on the topic of prices, we have to talk about some unfortunate news, and that is that the memory crisis has finally started affecting Apple as of pretty much right now, because we just got news that Apple is going to raise prices due to the memory chip crunch. So this comes from the Wall Street Journal, and they plan to raise prices on its products to offset the surging costs of memory and storage chips. So Tim Cook said this in an interview with the Wall Street Journal: "Unfortunately, price increases are unavoidable. We're doing our best to mitigate the huge increases that are being passed to us, and we've been trying to shield our customers from the increases, but the situation has become unsustainable." Now, Tim Cook did not say exactly what products are going to see the price increase or when we're actually going to see these price increases. However, I would have to assume that since this was done in an interview right now, this is going to be imminent. Like every Apple product from here on out could be seeing a slight price increase, and the iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max could be seeing a decent sized price increase, according to the Wall Street Journal. So they're saying, and they're citing insights from research firm Tech Insights. They're estimating that the iPhone 18 Pro could be $1,299 or $1,399. So it could be $200 to $300 more than last year's iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max. And it looks like, right now the consensus is that it's going to be $300 more than last year's model. That is a steep increase. And to be honest, that has me kind of worried for the foldable phone as well. Like all along, we thought the foldable could be a smidge under $2,000. But now I'm like, I don't know. It seems like it might actually be more than that because of this memory crisis that kind of came out of nowhere. So we'll have to wait and see, but just know that price increases are absolutely coming for Apple products. And this came straight from the CEO's mouth. Now let's talk about the next generation of AirPods, because we've been hearing about these for so long and they've had so many speculations about what they're going to be used for and why they're useless and why they're going to be cool. There's just a lot of confusion about these AirPods. And what I'm talking about are the AirPods with cameras inside. So at first, a lot of people were like, why would I need cameras in my AirPods? Like, what am I going to take a picture from the side of me? That doesn't make any sense. But that's not the case. It's actually going to be essentially sensors for visual intelligence on your iPhone. It's going to be like an AI wearable for Apple to be able to detect your surroundings. And the reason I bring this up is because these were expected to be released in 2026. We've been hearing this since last year, and Mark Gurman from Bloomberg has been saying we're going to see these in 2026, but now it looks like those have been delayed until next year in 2027. So Gurman said this: Apple's upcoming camera-equipped AirPods, a product meant to vault the company into the AI device market, is scheduled to launch in late 2027 as a part of a flurry of new releases. The new AirPods are designed to be Apple's first AI-focused wearable product. The device's computer vision cameras won't be intended to capture photos and video. Instead, they'll act as sensors that feed visual context into Siri. The goal is to let users ask Siri questions about objects and the surrounding environment. Someone looking at a collection of ingredients, for example, could ask what to make for dinner. The AirPods were originally slated to release in 2026. The deadline slipped in part because of Apple's prolonged struggles with artificial intelligence software. The company also had to develop visual AI models capable of identifying objects in users' surroundings. So not only are these AirPods delayed until 2027, but it looks like late 2027. So these were apparently delayed by an entire year, which is kind of crazy. At that point, they might just end up being the AirPods Pro 4, because all along we heard these are just going to be like the AirPods Pro 3, but with cameras. They're not going to be necessarily the AirPods Pro 4. But at this point, late next year, maybe they will be the AirPods Pro 4, who knows? But let's talk about the more important product coming late next year, and that is Apple's 20th anniversary iPhone. We've been hearing so many rumors about this. For the past 6 years, we've heard about this thing, and now we have new details on it because we're hearing that it's going to come in 2 sizes. So this report also comes from Mark Gurman. So he says this: Apple is also ramping up work on the iPhone that celebrates the device's 2-decade history for release at the end of next year. The product will feature a nearly edge-to-edge display with curved glass that wraps around the sides. The anniversary models will succeed the iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max coming this year and debut in similar sizes. Notice I didn't say the exact same sizes. Both the anniversary and second generation foldable models will run on a 2nm A21 chip, internally dubbed Naxos. So yeah, there was speculation at one point that this 20th anniversary iPhone would be like secondary to the other iPhones, like it'd be an upgraded like Ultra model, but now that we have the foldable phone, it does not seem like that's going to be the case. This is just going to be a simple replacement for, the iPhone 18 and 18 Pro. Now, speaking of the iPhone 18 Pro, do you guys remember last year, and really this year as well, with the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max, how so many people had issues, especially with the cosmic orange, having like it turned pink, or like sometimes it would peel off, and they were like, why is this made of aluminum if it's just peeling and you could see like the color underneath? And there's like durability issues. Well, now we're hearing that the same thing might be happening with the upcoming iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max, despite them seeing a price increase. So Fixed Focus Digital over on Weibo said this: Apple's next-gen iPhone 18 Pro series will still feature an aluminum alloy, and the heat dissipation is indeed excellent. However, if you aren't aware of what the iPhone 17 Pro went through, you'd better be careful about paint chipping issues with the new color options. So yeah, we're hearing about the new color options, like the red, for example, like the cherry red. We're hearing that this might have the exact same issues that the 17 Pro and Pro Max had with the paint chipping and kind of being discolored on the side. So just be aware that could still be happening. Me personally, I've not seen that happen on any of my devices or any of my friends' devices. I've only seen that online, so I cannot imagine it's a super widespread issue, but that is good to know. We're also going to see the iPhone Air 2 next year, and this thing could be pretty interesting. So Mark Gurman said this: Apple is preparing a second generation iPhone Air for spring 2027, so pretty soon. Current prototypes of the new model, codenamed V62, add a second rear camera for ultra-wide angle photography. It's now in advanced testing within Apple. Though the device retains its current look, Apple is also working to improve the battery life. It's unclear if that will come from a larger battery, which may be impractical on the Air's compact chassis, or efficiency gains. So you guys know I love the iPhone Air, but the biggest downsides were the camera and the battery. So if Apple can fix both of those, which it sounds like they might be doing, that's going to be amazing. So I cannot wait to see this in the spring. Now, we also got something this week that we have not had in a very long time, and that is a boot ROM exploit. So if you've been around for the jailbreak days, like way back in the days, you would know what this is, but essentially a boot ROM is an unpatchable exploit that impacts like the device at the chip level. So it's like never going to be able to be patched in its history. And this allows you to essentially get, kernel access, and you're going to be able to jailbreak it and things like that. So we just saw a new one this week that's pretty interesting. And this affects Apple's A12 and A13 devices, aka the iPhone XS through the iPhone 11. And the last publicly known like boot ROM exploit was Checkmate back in 2019, which worked on the iPhone 4S all the way through the iPhone 10. And now this one, USB Leader 8, extends that support to the iPhone XS to the iPhone 11. So if you're somebody who is still into jailbreaking, or if you just like tinkering with your phones, this is a pretty cool thing to have out there now. Okay, so let's move back over to our iPhone and continue talking about iOS 27 Beta 1. So far, I have to say that the performance on iOS 27 Beta 1, and I talked about this, I was very vocal about this, I believe this to be the best first beta that I've ever tested. Like me personally, I've never tested a better Beta 1 than what I'm seeing here with iOS 27. It is quite impressive. Now keep in mind, I've been testing Beta 1s, like beta software on iPhones, since iPhone OS 3, like super way back in the day, and I've never seen one as stable as this. Now, of course, there are still bugs, like the main one is screenshotting. When you screenshot and you go to crop it and save, it doesn't actually crop it. It's super annoying. It only works if you do the copy and delete. But there's other bugs as well, like Wi-Fi drops. I know a lot of people have had Wi-Fi drops. There's things like the keyboard will disappear. Like if I go into my text right here, sometimes if you make a mistake, like if I go into the grammar right here, you can see how the words will just disappear sometimes. If I go into grammar, sometimes these will disappear, and sometimes the keyboard disappears as well. So there's other random bugs like that, but overall performance has been excellent on 27 Beta 1. So you guys let me know your experience down in the comments below, but it seems like pretty much most people are having a great experience with performance on Beta 1. Now, when it comes to battery life is also super impressive. I'm not going to say it's the best I've ever seen on a first beta, but it is up there. Like I've been recording my phone for a while and I'm still at 98% right here. Just battery life in general. I've been using it on my main device as well, my 17 Pro here, and battery life is almost just as good as it is on iOS 26, like the stable builds, which is insane. So again, keep in mind, this is beta software. It's developer beta software. I would highly recommend not installing it on your main device if you're not okay with having issues and things not work and having random reboots and random resprings. I did have a random respring this morning on my main phone here. That was really annoying because it was like a really long one. It took like 3 minutes to boot back up, but that was the very first one I had in almost 2 weeks, and it was really random. So, unless you're okay with having issues like that and things not working, like I would not install the beta on your device. At least wait until the public beta comes out next month. Like that's the bare minimum I would do if you're afraid of having these issues on your phone. I should also mention that there is a new animation in iOS 27 when your notifications come in, but it's so laggy for me. Like on every device, it just comes in so laggy. And I've also noticed that notifications are just really late. Like sometimes I'll be in messages, I'll see a new message come in, then I'll go out of it and go into another app, and then I get a notification that I got a new message. So notifications appear to be a little bit delayed, and the animation, the notification coming in, also stutters quite a bit. So it definitely needs some work. But again, this is a first beta. There's going to be a lot of issues, a lot of things that are going to be fixed and refined throughout the beta cycle. Now let's go ahead and talk about what to expect next from Apple. So let's talk about iOS 27 beta 2, because we should be seeing that next week. Yes, we are on a 2-week release schedule right now, so we should be seeing the second beta for iOS 27 next week, most likely right there on June 22nd. So typically it's on a Monday. Apple could release it on a Tuesday. It's always possible, but we should see that in the first half of next week. Again, most likely there on the 22nd. And then after that, we should still continue to be on a 2-week release schedule. So we most likely will not see the next beta until July 6th. So after that 4th of July weekend is when we should see the third beta. Now we should also be seeing the public beta for iOS 27 in July as well. We could be seeing that the week of July 13th. So we'll have to wait and see. Apple will reveal that at a later date, but that is going to be when we have the first public beta for iOS 27. It's likely to come after developer beta 3. And then of course the final release is going to be down here at some point in September, most likely the week of the 14th or the week of the 21st. Apple will reveal that at a later date. Now, for some reason, if you're still on iOS 26, some people are still on iOS 26, believe it or not, especially the betas, we should be seeing new iOS 26 updates pretty soon as well. So we might be seeing 26.5.2 as early as next week. That's just going to be a small bug fix update, and we could be seeing a new 26.6 beta as well, because the latest version right now is 26.5.1, but we do have 26 in beta right now, or 26.6 rather, in beta right now. And then finally, just as tradition, we have another crazy AirTag story, and this one's not even about a person. This is about a tortoise. So this time in Oregon, an 80-pound tortoise named Torque decided it was time for another adventure. So Torque had been living with her owner's parents for years, despite being nearly 24 years old, and it had a bit of history with wandering off. In fact, a few years earlier, somebody accidentally left a gate open and Torque escaped. So her family spent hours searching for her before finally finding her the next morning, hiding in a cow pasture, surrounded by confused cows after apparently spending an entire night eating blackberries. So after that incident, Torque's veterinarian suggested attaching an AirTag to her shell just in case she ever disappeared again. And that turned out to be a pretty good idea, because last week, Torque somehow managed to escape her enclosure for a second time. But before the AirTag could even alert her owner, something else happened. A nearby resident spotted a giant tortoise wandering around the neighborhood and posted a photo in a local Facebook group. The post immediately caught people's attention because, well, it's not every day that you see an 80-pound tortoise just walking down the street. So even better, several people noticed the bright orange AirTag attached to the tortoise's shell. Meanwhile, Torque's owner had just come inside from watering her yard when her husband casually told her, "Torque's out, somebody posted her on Facebook." And sure enough, she opened up the post and immediately recognized her runaway tortoise. So the woman who found Torque joked that she wasn't sure how she was supposed to verify the real owner if multiple people tried claiming her. But then Torque's owner messaged her and said, "That's my tortoise." And how did she prove it? Well, she told her the tortoise had an orange AirTag attached to its shell. And a short time later, she arrived, somehow lifted the 80-pound tortoise into her vehicle, and brought her safely home. So other than a slightly damaged beak and a broken AirTag, Torque was completely fine. In fact, she even got an upgrade afterwards, because the orange AirTag was replaced with a hot pink one. So that is a funny feel-good story about a tortoise who has an AirTag attached to it. That is definitely a unique one that I have not seen here on the channel. So even if you have a tortoise out there, just put an AirTag on it. You never know these days. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let me know down in a comment below how iOS 27 is running for you. I'm so glad to be on a new version right now, and 27 did not disappoint. So anyways, let me know what you guys think down there in the comments, and I will see you very soon.